Hey guys, welcome back to week 2 of schooling from home. I wish we could see each other today. I wish I could give everybody a big hug, but since we can't, I wanted to keep reading our book, Sideways Stories from Wayside School. So we are starting on chapter 21 today if you're following along with us. Otherwise, I hope you just enjoy listening. All right, we've read about lots of different characters from Wayside School who go to school on the 30th floor of the school, and their teacher's name is Mrs. Jules. So today we'll read about a few more characters. We're going to start with Ron in chapter 21. Ron. Ron had curly hair and little feet. "I want to play kickball," he said. "You can't play," said Terrence. "Get out of here," said Dee Dee. "Scram," said Jason. "I want to play kickball," said Ron. "Well, you're not playing," said Terrence. "Beat it." Ron stomped across the playground to the hopscotch area. Jenny was playing hopscotch with Lewis. Jenny was on 9, Lewis was still on 4, but it was his turn. "I want to play kickball," said Ron. "So, go play kickball," said Lewis. "Terrence won't let me play," said Ron. Lewis walked with Ron to the kickball field. "Hey, what about our hopscotch game?" Jenny asked. "You won," said Lewis. "I just beat Lewis in hopscotch," Jenny announced. Leslie, Rondi, and Allison flocked around her. "Hey, Lewis," Damien shouted, "do you want to play kickball?" "All right," said Lewis. "Ron and I will both play." "No," said Terrence, "Ron isn't playing." "Anyone who wants to play can play," said Lewis. "No, he can't," said Terrence. "It's my ball." "It isn't your ball," said Lewis. "You gave it to me," said Terrence. "I gave it to you to share," said Lewis. "If you can't share it, you can't have it." "Oh, all right," said Terrence, "but I get to pitch." "Ron and I will stand everybody," Lewis announced. "All right," said Jason, "we'll kill them." "We'll murder them," said Dee Dee. "We'll smash them," said Myron. "We'll see," said Lewis. Ron pitched and Lewis played the other 8 positions. 20 minutes later, they finally got 3 outs. The score was 21-0. Ron was up first. "Infield in!" shouted Damien. Everybody stood within 10 feet of home plate. "All right, Ron," Lewis shouted. "Kick it over their heads." Ron kicked the ball only 3.5 feet. Todd picked it up and threw him out. Lewis was up. Everybody ran back to the edge of the outfield. Still, Lewis kicked the ball over their heads for a home run. Everybody ran all the way back in again for Ron's up. He kicked the ball only 2 feet. Dee Dee tagged him out. Lewis kicked another home run. Ron then kicked the ball a foot and tripped over it on his way to first base. 3 outs. Ron and Lewis held the other team to only 5 runs the next inning. That was because the bell rang. Lunch was finally over. Lewis and Ron lost 26-2. Ron had had a wonderful time. The next day, Ron said, "I want to play kickball." "You can't play," said Terrence. "Get out of here," said Jason. "Scram," said Dee Dee. "I want to play kickball," Ron told Lewis. Lewis walked with him to the kickball field. "Ron and I will stand all of you." Everybody liked the teams. Ron pitched while Lewis played the other 8 positions. They lost 57-2. After the game, Lewis took Ron aside. "Listen, Ron," he said, "why do you always want to play kickball? You can't kick. You can't field. You can't even run to first base. You just get smashed every game." "Hey, now wait a second," said Ron. "Don't go blaming it all on me. You're half the team too, you know." And with that, he punched Lewis in the stomach. And he punched a heck of a lot harder than he kicked. Chapter 22. The 3 Erics. This is a funny picture. In Mrs. Jewell's class, there were 3 children named Eric. Eric Fry, Eric Bacon, and Eric Ovens. They were known throughout the school for being fat. Eric Fry sat at this end of the room. Eric Bacon sat in the middle of the room, and Eric Ovens sat at the end of the room. There was a joke around Wayside School that if all three Erics were ever at the same end of the room at the same time, the whole school would tip over. Eric Bacon hated jokes like that. That's not surprising. After all, he wasn't even fat. He was the skinniest kid in Miss Jewel's class. But nobody seemed to notice. The other two Erics were fat, and so everyone just thought that all Erics were fat. "But I'm not fat," Eric Bacon insisted. "What's your name?" asked Jason. "Eric," said Eric Bacon. "Then you're fat," Jason concluded. And pretty soon, skinny little Eric Bacon, the skinniest kid in Miss Jewel's class, had the nickname Fatso. Eric Fry really was fat. He was also the best athlete in Miss Jewel's class. His body was solid muscle. However, nobody ever noticed. The other two Erics weren't very good at sports. Eric Ovens was clumsy. Eric, Fatso, Bacon, was a good athlete for his size, but because he was so skinny, he didn't have much power. So, naturally, everybody just assumed that Eric Fry was also clumsy and weak. After all, his name was Eric. Whenever the other kids chose up teams, Eric Fry was the last one picked. They never noticed his home runs or the fabulous catches he made. They never, like all great athletes, he made the impossible look easy. Of course, the other kids did notice the one time he dropped the ball. Eric Fry was playing right field. Terrence belted a deep fly to left. Eric Fry raced all the way across the field after the ball and at the last second dove at it. He caught it in mid-air in his fingertips, but as he hit the ground, the ball squirted loose. "Well, what do you expect from Butterfingers?" said Stephen. And since that time, Eric Fry has had the nickname Butterfingers. Eric Ovens was the nicest person in Miss Jewel's class. He treated everyone equally and always had a kind word to say. But because his name was Eric, everyone thought he was mean. Fatso was mean because we called him Fatso. Butterfingers was mean because he always had to play right field. So, naturally, everyone just assumed that Eric Ovens was also mean. They called him Crabapple. "Good morning, Allison," said Eric Ovens. "How are you?" "Lay off, Crabapple, will ya?" answered Allison. "If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all." All three of the Erics had nicknames. It was better that way. Otherwise, when someone said, "Hey, Eric," no one knew to whom he was talking. One time, all the Erics would answer, and the next time, none of them would answer. But when someone say, "Hey, Crabapple," then Eric Ovens knew they were talking to him. And if someone said, "Hey, Butterfingers," Eric Fry knew they meant him. And when someone said, "Hey, Fatso," Eric Bacon knew he was being called. Chapter 23, Allison. Here's a picture of Allison. Allison had pretty blonde hair and always wore a sky blue windbreaker. Her windbreaker was the same color as her eyes. She was best friends with Rondi. Rondi had blonde hair too, but she was missing her two front teeth. Allison had all of her teeth. Allison used to say that she knocked Rondi's teeth out. Allison was very pretty, so all the boys in Miss Jewel's class teased her, especially Jason. But Allison said, "Leave me alone or I'll knock your teeth out like I did Rondi's." The boys didn't bother her after that. One day, Allison brought a tangerine for lunch. She took the peel off in one piece. Miss Mush, the lunch teacher, walked up to her. "Allison, may I have your tangerine?" she asked. Miss Mush always gave food to the children. So Allison was happy to give her tangerine to Miss Mush. Miss Mush shoved it in her mouth and swallowed it in less than 4 seconds. Allison left the lunchroom and walked down to the library. The lunchroom was on the 15th story. The library was on the 7th. Allison already had her book. She just went to the library because it was nice and quiet there. The librarian walked up to Allison. "What are you reading?" she asked. Allison told her the name of the book. "That sounds like a good book," said the librarian. "I never read that one. May I borrow it?" The librarian always lent books to the children. Allison was glad to be able to return the favor. She gave the librarian the book, then walked down the stairs outside to the playground. All of Allison's friends were playing freeze tag. Allison didn't feel like playing. She reached into the pocket of her sky blue windbreaker and took out a tennis ball. She bounced it a couple of times on the ground. Lewis came up to her. "Hi, Allison," he said. "May I play with your tennis ball?" Lewis always gave balls to the children. Allison happily gave her ball to Lewis. Lewis threw the ball all the way to the other side of the playground. Then he went chasing after it. Allison didn't feel like doing anything. Jason ran up and tagged her. "You're frozen," he said. "Get out of here before I knock your teeth out," said Allison. Jason shrugged his shoulders and left. Allison went back inside and up the 30 flights of stairs to Miss Jewls' room. The lunch period wasn't over yet, but Allison didn't feel like doing anything else. She had given her food to the lunch teacher, her book to the librarian, and her ball to the yard teacher. She went inside her classroom. Miss Jewls was there. "Oh, Allison, I'm glad you're here," said Miss Jewls. "I'm having trouble with an arithmetic problem. Maybe you can help." "Sure," said Allison. Miss Jewls always helped the children with their problems. Allison was happy to help. "How do you spell chair?" asked Miss Jewls. "Chair," said Allison. "Yes, that's right," said Miss Jewls. "I knew it wasn't Chare, but I couldn't remember what it was." "That's not an arithmetic problem," said Allison. "That's spelling." "Yes, you are right again," said Miss Jewls. "I always get the two mixed up." The bell rang. The lunch period was over. Allison could hear the other children running up the stairs. "Allison," said Mrs. Jewls, "you learned a very important secret today, and I don't want you to tell any of the other children, not even Rondi." "What was that?" asked Allison. She didn't even know she learned a secret. She loved secrets. "You learned that children are really smarter than their teachers," said Miss Jewls. "Oh, that's no secret," said Allison. "Everybody knows that." That was a good one. All right, we'll read one more. Chapter 24, Damien. Here's a picture of Damien. Damien had hazel eyes with a little black dot in the middle of each of them. The dots were called pupils. So was Damien. He was a pupil in Miss Jewls' class. Miss Jewls was about to show the class a movie. She turned out the lights. When it was dark, Damien's pupils got bigger. "Damien," said Mrs. Jewls, "run downstairs and ask Lewis if he'd like to see the movie with us." Damien ran down the 30 flights of stairs to the playground. He stepped outside as Lewis was hooking up a tetherball. "Hey, Lewis," Damien called, "do you want to see a movie in Miss Jewls' class?" Lewis rubbed his chin. "What movie?" he asked. Damien shrugged his shoulders. "I don't know," he said. "I'll be right back." Damien ran all the way back up the stairs to the 30th story. "Lewis wants to know what movie," said Damien. "Does he want to know the name of the movie or what the movie is about?" asked Miss Jewls. "I don't know," said Damien. "I'll ask him." Damien raced back down the stairs and out of the playground. "Lewis, do you want to know the name of the movie or what the movie is about?" he asked. "The name," said Lewis. "Okay," said Damien. Damien hurried back up the 30 flights of stairs. He took the steps 2 at a time. "He wants to know the name," said Damien. "Turtles," said Miss Jewls. Damien turned around, took a deep breath, and ran back down the stairs. "Turtles," Damien told Lewis. "Hey, that might be good," said Lewis. "What's it about?" "I'm not sure," said Damien. "I'll find out." Damien raced back up the stairs, but first he stopped to take a drink of water. "What's it about, Miss Jewls?" said Damien. "Turtles," said Miss Jewls. Damien rushed back down the stairs to tell Lewis. "Turtles," said Damien. "No thanks," said Lewis. "I don't like turtles. They are too slow." Damien lowered his head and slowly walked up the 30 flights of stairs. His legs were sore. He could hardly breathe, and his side ached. By the time he got to Miss Jewls' class, the movie was over. "All right, class," said Miss Jewls. "I want everybody to take out a piece of paper and pencil and write something about turtles." Damien had missed the movie, but he still could have written something about turtles. Turtles are too slow. But now he couldn't find his pencil. It just wasn't his day. "What's the matter, Damien?" asked Miss Jewls. "I can't find my pencil," said Damien. "Class, Damien's pencil is missing," Miss Jewls announced. What did it look like, Damien?" she asked. "It was long and yellow," said Damien. "It had a black point at one end and a red eraser at the other." "I found it," said Todd. "Here, by the blackboard." "Yes, that's it," said Damien. "No, there it is, in the corner by the wastebasket," said Crabapple. Maybe that's it," said Damien. Here it is, said John. It's been in my desk the whole time. No, here it is in my hand, said Joe. I found it, said Rondi. Here it is, said Allison. I have it, laughed DJ. I found it, said Myron. Which one is yours, Damien? Asked Miss Jules. Damien studied each pencil. They all look like mine, he said. Fortunately, at that moment, Louis walked into the classroom. He handed Damien a pencil. You dropped this when you were telling me about the movie, said Louis. Thanks, said Damien. Okay, class, said Miss Jules. So that we have no more mix-ups, I want everybody to write his name on his pencil. Damien spent the rest of the day trying to write his name on his pencil. Damien's pencil couldn't write on itself. It was just like his beautiful hazel eyes with the black dots in the middle. They could see everything except themselves. All right, that's it for today. I hope y'all enjoyed, and we'll see you tomorrow.